Borada, good morning and welcome to Gentle Pilates. Now, this is the third time we've tried in as many weeks, and I'm hoping third time lucky, if that makes sense. So, internet gods, please shine favorably upon me. If they don't, just click on playlists on the same channel, and there's a multitude of Pilates classes there that you can choose from. So, any issues, just do that. Now, what are we going to be doing today? We've got a lovely, I call it gentle Pilates, but it's not necessarily gentle. It's just appropriate for those of us who have finally reached that dizzy age of 35 or over and the rest. And it's just appropriate for a slightly older age group. So you'll notice lots of the things we do aren't going to put any sort of extra pressure on the spine. We are still going to give you a lovely core strength workout, lots of flexibility. So, are you feeling well is my first question. If you're not feeling well, then what I'm going to get you to do is just switch off and come back to this another time. If you are feeling well, we're going to start with a really nice standing warm-up, and then we're going to go from there. So, if you can, just make sure you've got those feet roughly hip width apart. Oh, what I'm going to give you is a beautiful mat, okay, to work on. So make sure you've got your mat, make sure you've got your space around you. The other thing I've got is a drink and just a towel or a piece of clothing that's just going to help you support your neck when we get going. So back to the warm-up. What we're going to do before we do anything else is we're just going to notice what's going on in our body. We're going to notice any tension in the shoulders. We're going to notice any tension, this lower back and this tailbone. And we're going to just use the warm-up to see if we can let that tension seep away. So we're going to start with a little squeeze up to the ears. And then we're just going to let those shoulders fall. So I do this at the start of almost every class I do, and I really rate it. So we're going to think about lengthening through that spine as we squeeze those shoulders up, notice that tension, and then we're going to breathe out through the mouth. Let those shoulders slide away from the ears. Should we try that again? So that breath in. And we're just going to slide those shoulders down. Now just see how far those shoulders will actually go if you let them keep going. Just let them keep going, let them keep going. You'll notice they feel very different. One more time. And as we breathe in, see if you can breathe in through the nose and just gently pushing that breath out through the mouth. Slide those shoulders away from the ears. And then let those arms almost hang there. Now we're going to think about our feet. So we're just going to take the weight into the balls of the feet, into the heels. So it's a very small movement. I've not got my heels moving away from the floor, but you can if you prefer. So if you want to use this as a bit of an ankle warm-up, a little bit of calf warm-up, you can make the movement a little bit bigger, but just focus on keeping the shoulders relaxed, transferring the weight from the front part of the foot to the back part of the foot. And then what we're going to do is make those movements smaller and smaller till we arrive at that midpoint where your weight feels centered through the feet. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to think about just bringing our hands somewhere between the base of the ribs and the top of the pelvis. So this is going to be our corset, our big belt today. And what we're going to do is just draw that corset in, okay? We're going to see if we can tighten it as hard as you can. So this is called centering. We're really engaging our core muscles, and then we're going to release. So we don't want to be doing it at 100%, not as hard as you can. So see if we can tighten it again this time, maybe 50%. Good. And then release. And then this time we're going to just draw it in about a third of our maximum. So I always call this belt notch 3. So it's a sort of engagement we can hold throughout. So let's just let these arms relax by our side. We're going to engage those core muscles, and then we're going to see if we can take a little spine swing. So just look around you. Make sure you're not too close to some furniture or a wall before we do this. In class, it's nice and easy because we've always got enough space. But we're just going to let those hips go, let those arms go. Good. And you can see this opposite heel coming away from the floor. If the neck feels okay, you can just gently turn that neck, look over that shoulder. And then when you feel ready, we're going to bring it back to center. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're just going to make some little movements and see if you can do this, engaging those core muscles. So remember our corset, our belt. Just see if you can practice holding that belt at 30% while we're moving. And that's what Pilates is all about. So the reason we're doing that is to see if we can keep this trunk nice and stable. So let's have a look at the pelvis. Let's remember that bucket of water. We're just going to make sure we're not sticking that bottom out or standing like this. So we're going to lift that chest, lengthen through that spine. Remember that helium balloon above your head. Imagine it's attached to the crown and it's floating upwards, and it's just floating the crown of that head upwards. You can feel space opening up between each segment of the spine. And then we're going to imagine that bucket of water in your pelvis, and we're just going to make those little tilting movements, tipping water out to the front and out to the back until you arrive at that midpoint where the water feels totally flat. There's no more spillages. You'll notice you've got that neutral spine, that natural curve at the base of the spine. Chest is lifted. Lovely. Now from here, we're going to engage. We're going to come into that lower back warm up, lifting that rib cage up and to the side. So I always like to remember with this one, or imagine that I've got almost a wall in front of my nose, in front of my chin, in front of my chest. So I can't actually lean forwards to do this one. It has to be a sideways movement. And we're engaging this corset-like muscle all the time. So keep drawing in. You can bring in a little bit of pelvic floor if you like. So you can imagine almost a triangle. We're drawing in from the waist. We're drawing up from that pubic bone. And then we're going to come all the way up. Good. Let's just see if we can circle these hips a little bit. Just circle a few times one way, and we're going to circle a few times the other way. Just loosen off that lower back, that pelvic region. And then we're going to come back to that position. So see if we can open out this chest, slide those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom. And then we're going to come into our prayer position. So engage those core muscles again. Remember our corset. We're going to take a gentle twist one way. We're going to come back to center. So let's think about this breathing. Let's see if we can breathe out as we move away from center, using that soft breath out through the mouth. And let's see if we can draw that breath in through the nose. And see if we can start to get these movements flowing in time with our own breathing patterns. So breathing into center, breathing out as we move away from center, and then coming back to center. Just checking. I thought I was being bitten then. I'm not being bitten. Roll these shoulders up to the ears and back down. So we're going to take that breath in again. And as we relax the shoulders down, we're going to breathe out. Let's try that again. Breathe in and breathe out. And then we're going to see if we can take a little leg movement. As if we were about to sit down, make sure those knees bend in line with that second toe. It doesn't have to be a big movement. We don't have to go so far that the knees don't like it. Just warming up these leg muscles. It's always nice at this time of year when it's a little bit warmer. Well, it is a little bit warmer. Okay, it's not really May weather. And then we're going to come all the way up. Now, we're going to see if we can find that lovely neutral spine, relax shoulders, engage that corset-like muscle. We're going to come into our arm floats. So we're leading with this thumb. And as we raise the arm, okay, we're not lifting from the shoulder. We're drawing that shoulder blade down the back towards the bottom. Chest is open, core muscles engaged. and chin parallel to the floor, just looking out onto the horizon. We're going to do 4 on this one side, and then we're going to change sides. And notice as we lift, we're not lifting this rib cage. There's no movement in the ribs. So what we could do is just take those hands onto that rib cage and notice what happens to those ribs if we overreach, if we go beyond our capabilities. Now, as we warm up, we should probably find we get a little bit more movement, but try not to force it. Find that point of tension and gently bring it down. Keep those core muscles engaged. Keep that connection, that imaginary connection between the ribs and the pelvis there. Now we're going to see if we can take both arms up. We're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. Lovely. This time we're going to open. We're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. Just really engaging those muscles between the shoulder blades. Imagine drawing those shoulder blades together as we breathe in, and as we breathe out, just relaxing those shoulder blades down. We're going to take one more. And this time, just bringing those hands down to your side. Now we're going to see if we can do a little warm up for this spine. We're going to start with a mini roll down. So we're going to start just dropping your chin down towards the chest, and then we're going to lift that head. We're going to look straight ahead. So when we're doing this, relax the shoulders, really slide those shoulder blades down. Let those arms relax. Now when this head gently drops forwards, we're going to totally relax it. Engage. And then we're going to lift up this rib cage, and we're going to imagine that beach ball at our feet. We're going to lift that rib cage as if we're just about to look through our knees. Now at this point, what's happening with that head? Head is totally relaxed. If someone was to hit your arms, they'd be totally floppy. The control is all with these core muscles in the waist and the lower back. Right, now imagine you've got a big long tail. We're going to push that tail down towards the floor, and we're going to roll up through that spine. So imagine stacking each segment of that vertebra one at a time. Relax the shoulders, lift that head. Okay, so we're just going to lift those heels off the floor, a little bit of balance, and we're going to focus on practicing that breathing. So as we lift those heels away from the floor, we're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in to return. Now, if your balance isn't good, you can use the wall for this, because the important thing is engaging those core muscles and practicing while you're steady, and your core muscles will improve. You will eventually be able to lose that arm. Now, if you can challenge, we're going to see if we can lift those heels, hold it there, bring those arms up to shoulder level, and bring it back down together. Lovely. Now, just move those feet a little bit. They get a little bit static in this warm-up, so you can give them a little shake, and we're going to go back to that roll down, so we can see how far you feel comfortable going. So any issues with the back, any issues with bone density in the spine, we're going to be careful with this. So we'll just go as far as we feel comfortable. You are the boss. So again, remember, engage, shoulders relax. We're starting with that chin. So it's starting with the top half of the spine. And then when you feel you're there, we're going to lift that rib cage. And we're just going to lift it over that imaginary beach ball. Now just stop. Make sure those arms are relaxed and make sure that head is floppy. And then only if you feel comfortable are we going to carry on. Now you can bend those knees if you prefer, or just listen in and move just to that point where your body goes, oh, that's enough. Breathe in at the bottom, tighten that belt, push that tail towards the floor behind the heels, and we're going to roll up through this spine. Good, and at the top, shoulders relax, head straight ahead, breathe in, tighten that belt again, let's try that again. So it's smooth, there's flow. There's no forcing this movement. There's just control from those core muscles. And we're just letting those arms relax, letting that head relax. Good. So if you feel that you don't like taking that head below the heart, what I'm going to let you do instead is a standing cat stretch, okay? So you're just going to tilt this pelvis. That's going to be your alternative, because not everyone copes with the head coming as far down as this. So we're just going to do a few of these, and then we're just going to come all the way back up. Lovely. All right, so we can use that movement to bring us onto our mat. We can use it just to warm up in the mornings, but as always, listening to that body. Now we're going to finish our standing warm up with some standing balance. Now, if you're not sure about your balance, we're going to be taking one foot off the floor. So again, you might want to use something, but you do need to be able to stand tall. You don't want to be holding something there. Let's train these core muscles to do what we want them to. Now, all we're going to do is stand nice and tall, nice and relaxed in that spine, but engage that corset-like muscle. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to lift one heel off the floor. If you're wobbling, just stay with that heel. If we feel comfortable, we're going to lift that whole foot off the floor, and we're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out, and we're going to breathe in. And when you feel ready, with control, place that foot back on the floor. So the narrower your base to start with, the easier it is to come into it. It becomes much more challenging when you've got a wider base. So I'm going to take my feet just a little bit narrower this time. I'm going to bring that heel off the floor. Check that chest is open, shoulders relaxed. This is where it's coming from, and this. So focus on a static point in the distance. Really think about what you're doing, and then gently lift that foot away from the floor. Good. We're going to just make sure we breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and then bring it back. Now we're going to add some challenges as the weeks go on. I was unsure about doing this, but balance is so important that even online, we want to be doing it, practicing it daily if you can. So if you found that really challenging, it might be worth building in that, just practicing standing on one leg when you're waiting for things like the kettle to boil, waiting for the phone to ring, all those sorts of things. Okay, if you are waiting for the kettle, stand some distance from the kettle. That's my top tip. Okay, so we're going to come onto our mat. So I've got my mat here. You can't really see it yet because I'm going to change the camera angle. But let's just think about taking that little shoulder roll, engaging those core muscles. And what we're going to do is bring ourselves into a 4-point kneeling position. So however you feel comfortable. So whether you just want to come onto the floor as you like or a different way, I'm going to move our camera and then I'm going to use my roll down to bring myself onto the floor. Lovely. Okay. Oh, this is such a joy. I think we're still in. And I really miss Pilates. I really miss being with you. So let's see if we can find that lovely position. Remember that nice long spine. Remember those shoulders drawn away from the ears, and let's engage. So remember our corset. Yeah? Now, what we're going to do is see if we can include a little bit of pelvic floor. So draw up through that pelvic floor, just at the first floor of that building, we sometimes pop there. And then we're going to come into that cat stretch. So let's draw that spine to the ceiling. If you had a tail, at the same time, we'd be pushing that tail through your knees. Remember the sad dog. Good. And as you come back, really sort of think about where you're looking, chin pulled towards the back of the neck. Nice long back. This time the tail is sticking straight out behind you. Good. And we're going to take one more of those. And then we're just going to come back into that nice, comfortable child's pose position. But I've got my elbows behind my knees. Really nice and relaxed. Just spend a few moments seeing how you feel. And then when you feel ready, we're going to bring ourselves onto our backs. So I'm going to start, I always like starting with bridging. I don't know why. It just seems like the perfect exercise. So I'm going to bring myself onto my back. Now, those of you that want a little bit of support behind your head, try not to cover your head with a towel as I just did. Okay, I'm going to put it there. Good. I just need a little bit more support than I used to. Good. Now we're going to see if we can get those heels directly underneath the knees and the knees sort of hip width apart, feet hip width apart. Let's find that neutral spine. All right, let's engage that corset and then relax those arms by your side. So however you like those arms to be, doesn't matter if they're palms down, facing you, or palms up. Just think about those shoulder blades melting into the mat. Now let's see if we can take that tilt where we're pushing that tail between our legs, engaging there. We're going to breathe in to prepare. And as we breathe out, engage these glutes, engage these hamstrings. Let's see if we can peel the spine away from the mat. Now remember, it takes a bit of time to get into our full range. So this is almost like the warm-up still. So we're just going to hold it there for a couple of seconds, breathe in, and then see if you can engage again and start to press from the upper part of the back, one little spine vertebra at a time down into the mat till we're back to that neutral spine. Breathe in, engage, tilt, breathe out, and peel that spine away from the mat. And notice what's happening at the top of the move. What's happening to those knees? Are they stable? Are they pushing together? Are they pushing out? See if you can keep them pointing up towards the ceiling. Good. So we're really being mindful about this movement, this exercise. Thinking about relaxing the shoulders, neutral spine, engaging, using that breathing. Lovely. So we're going to do about 8 of these. Just simple bridging. Notice if you start to feel it in that lower back. So as soon as you start feeling it in the lower back, well, this is what you might be doing. You might be lifting that rib cage and using the back rather than these bottom muscles and these hamstrings. So see if you can get that long line, hips, knees, shoulders, and really squeeze the bottom. You may need to lower a little bit. Good. It's slightly different. You see a lot of yoga poses sort of really using the back for the bridge, but Pilates, we're really slightly different. Okay, good. So squeeze, hold it there. And it's such a great exercise to get those glutes going. So what you'll notice is if the feet are further away from center, you tend to bring in more back of the legs. The closer those heels are to your bottom tends to be a little bit more glute, which is the big bottom muscles. Okay, right then. So we're just going to come all the way back down. And what we're going to do now is just bring the knees into the chest. Just give that lower back a little bit of an opening, a little bit of a gentle stretch. And then we're going to bring one foot down and the other. So let's see if we can walk the feet together now. Knees together. We're going to just allow those arms to relax by your sides, a little bit like an arrow shape. We're going to come into our hip rolls. So engage that corset, relax the shoulder blades. We're going to breathe out as those knees move away from center. We're going to breathe into center. So this is possibly my fave. Maybe it's my favorite at this point of the session because it really gives you a chance to see how you're feeling. Is there anything that you're noticing more today? So recently I've really been noticing my shoulders really tense, really tight. You might notice that you keep forgetting to engage the core muscles. You might just not be noticing anything. You might just be enjoying it, but it's a really good opportunity to get that lovely mobilizing of the spine and also the chance just to try and relax the shoulders, maintain that neutral spine, keep that corset engaged, not forcing that movement, just really nice and easy. Great. See if you can keep those shoulder blades melting into the mat. And then we're going to bring it back to center. So let's see if we can take those feet hip width apart again. Let's see if we can find that neutral spine. And we're going to really engage because we're going to work these muscles here now. So we're going to take a static tabletop position with the legs. So we've worked with one leg in tabletop. Now, if two legs means that your back arch is away from the mat, what we're going to do is just work with one leg. I'm going to bring my second leg up. Okay, now make sure you can balance that glass of water on your shin bone. Got that 90-degree, I've lost the ability to speak. Should I just do through the form of dance? Okay, so we've got the 90-degree angle at the knee and we're having to engage here. Now, engage the core muscles. Take those knees just an inch away from center. Notice the difference. Bring those knees back an inch. Okay, and then bring them to the chest an inch. Notice how you don't have to work as hard the closer the knees are to the chest. So biomechanics means the back naturally pushes into the floor. So the further away those knees are, the more challenging it's going to be for you to stop the back from arching. Now we're going to see if we can float these arms up towards the ceiling. We're going to do some arm circles. So the palms are facing each other. We're just going to take those arms overhead. Now watch that those ribs don't pop and the back doesn't arch. We're going to circle these arms back towards the outside of the thighs. Good. Now if you haven't got room, what I'm going to get you to do is just take the floats arms together, okay? But if you've got the room, just make sure you're not going to hit anything. We're breathing out as we move away from center. Breathing into return. So we're having to engage this corset-like belt all the time. Don't let that back arch away from the floor. Don't let those ribs pop. Breathe out and breathe in. Good. We're going to breathe out, breathe in, and again. I've lost count. We'll do 3 more, okay? Just breathing out, really drawing. So if it's getting too much, you can bring the knees a little bit closer. If it's not hard enough, take them a little bit further away, but don't let that back go. And then we're going to pull those knees in and we're going to roll like a ball. So last time was a very gentle movement. This time we're just gently rolling that lower spine up and down the mat by pulling those knees in. Good. All righty. So, feeling good. So what we'll do now is we'll just practice keeping the arms still and we'll use these legs. So we're back to that neutral spine, shoulders relax, let's tighten that corset. And I'm tending to breathe in to prepare. And as I breathe out, I'm going to bring this one leg into tabletop. So that's if I'm working in one leg. If I'm working 2 legs, I'm going to breathe in to bring this leg. Breathe out to bring this one. So what we're going to practice today is our single leg stretch, where we're just going to lengthen that leg away from center, slowly bring it back up. Shoulders relaxed. Okay, we're going to do alternate legs unless you're doing single leg. So if you can't control that lower back, you can do one of 2 things. You can bring the knees a little bit closer, or we could just work in single leg. Breathing out, breathing in. Notice the most challenging movement is the lower it goes, because that's when the back wants to arch away from the mat. So if you're finding that too challenging, just lengthen, bring it back. Good. As long as we're challenging your muscles, it doesn't have to look any particular way. So we're keeping that little orange between your chin and the chest, shoulders relaxed. I'm not sure mine are relaxed enough, but I'm trying. Corset engaged. I'm finding I'm having to tighten it. More of a 4, even a 5. Breathing out and breathing in. Have we got 4 more? So we're breathing out. If it gets too much, just bring those knees into your chest. And we're going to take 1 more with either leg, really nice and controlled. So there's a lot of strength to be gained from slow movement where we've taken the momentum out. And again, this time, rolling like a ball. We can do this, but if you'd like to take it up a little bit, we're just going to let that chin drop towards the chest a little bit, and then we're just going to lift that chest. You can hold behind the thighs if you prefer. You can hold the front of those things, and we're only rolling up and down that spine as far as those shoulder blades. If you're finding you're banging, please stop this. Go back to that chest lying on the mat. Good. And then we're going to just bring it in. All right, let's just see if we can bring one knee into your chest, lengthen through that other leg. And then we're going to do that little stretch of those glutes and the piriformis. We're going to draw that knee towards the opposite shoulder. Lovely. Breathing out, breathing in, bringing it back, and then bringing that other leg in. Good. So just lengthening away from center. Excellent work. I really love this stretch. Really love it. Okay, what does my little list say next? I don't know why I write a list. I just go off piece from it all the time anyway. Okay, so we're just going to bring those knees back down, walk those knees together, and in your own time, we're just going to bring ourselves onto your side. So what I wanted to do today is do a nice bit of chest flexibility. So we're going to go straight into your open door. So you might want that towel underneath that head. So we've got a nice long neck. And then we're going to place those palms on top of each other one at a time. So let's see if we can engage that corset. And if we are engaging, you might find there's a bit more space opening up between your waist and the floor. Relax the shoulders, clamp those hips into position. And then let's breathe out through the arm into those fingertips. And breathing back in. See if you can breathe into the back of those ribs. Breathing out. Good. Try and keep those hips stacked. Good. We're going to do about 5 or 6 of these on each side. This is all about flexibility. Front of the shoulders, the chest. And again, I think this is, I can't have that many favorites, but this is another one I really love. So we're just going to take one more, and then we're going to bring it all the way back. Good. So holding that position with the knees, so we're going to hold on to that 90-degree angle at the knee. We're just going to try and make sure that those heels stay in line with that tailbone, or you can go slightly forwards, but what we don't want is there particularly, or sort of there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come into those clams, which we haven't done for a while. So you can stay with your arms here if you prefer, but if you like to add a little bit of support there, you can do that. And all we're going to do is just open out those hips and control it down. So we're sort of feeling it here. It's those little glutes, and we're going to control it back down. Now, we could put this in next week. We'd add some band movement next week. I'm quite keen on that if you've got a band. If you haven't, don't worry about it. But we're just going to keep those shoulders nice and relaxed. Breathe out. And we're going to breathe in. Good. So again, let's think about that flow. Nice and relaxed. Same speed up. Same speed down. It's almost like a circle. As soon as we reach the top, the end of the movement, we're going to gently bring it back. And I'm aiming for about 10 of these, but what we really want is for the last couple to feel quite challenging. Not impossible, but if it's not challenging, doing 10 of those, you might decide, well, I'm going to do 12 or 15. If we're doing 15 and it's really easy, then we might need to start adding some resistance, like the resistance band. Good. So we're just going to open, and we're going to take one more. Keep those shoulders nice and relaxed. And then we're going to allow that knee to come down. I'm just going to let that knee fall over the supporting one, just to give this a little bit of a stretch here. Lovely. Okay. Have a little sleep. Bring that knee back. Okay, what I would like to do now is for us to straighten out these legs, and we're going to roll onto our fronts. We're going to roll onto our fronts. In a way, it's slightly darker this side of the room, so it's better if I've got the white towel, isn't it? I'm going to place that under my forehead just to make sure I've got that nice length in the back of the head. Back of the head or the neck? The neck, I think. So before we do anything, let's focus on finding that neutral spine and relaxing the shoulders and engaging those core muscles. I so often find I'm sort of in quite an arch back position on my front. And when I actually take the time, just lengthen the spine, it all changes the whole move completely. So let that head relax on the mat, let those elbows relax down away from the shoulders, and think about lengthening through that spine before we do anything else. Relax the bottom, relax the shoulders, breathe out, and think about tightening that corset. Think about that neutral spine. Think about that long tail sticking straight out behind you. And then when you feel ready, we're going to see if we can gently squeeze the forearms away from the mat. We have that bottom relaxed. So I'm going to turn my head to talk to you. Bottom is relaxed, core muscles engaged, shoulders sliding away from those ears. And we're going to do roughly 8 to 10 of these. Just a little squeeze of those shoulder blades together as you breathe out. Breathing in to return. So breathing out. It's a very small movement. We're working these upper back muscles. Bottom is totally relaxed. There's no effort in those glutes at all. Tail pushing straight out behind you. Good. Imagine you've got an invisible thread moving from the top of your head all the way down to that tailbone, and I'm pulling it horizontally. Good. Right, we're going to take one more of these. And then we're going to just relax the arms down. Now, engage those bottom muscles. Squeeze, and we're going to gently lift this chest away from the mat using those lower back muscles and the glutes. And as you breathe in, come back down. So as we're lifting this chest, draw that tummy button in. Try not to dome that tummy into the mat. Good. Keep that chin drawn to the back of the neck. Squeeze only as far as you feel comfortable. There's no support from these arms. We're just lifting this chest. And if we have any lower back issues, we're going to keep the movement quite small. Maybe 50% of your maximum. Just keeping the muscles strong, but not overextending. Good. If you're getting cramp in your toes, like I just am, tuck your toes under. Excellent. And when we've done 8 to 10 of these, when we've done that, we're going to simply push ourselves up into our cat stretch position. Well, into our 4-point kneeling position. And then we're going to stretch out that back. Draw that back towards the ceiling. Look towards those knees. And then we're going to release. Now, we're going to do something we don't normally do at this point. We're going to do a little stretch for our hip flexors. So we're going to slide one foot in front of you. I've got my hands inside of that foot. And then what we're going to do is just gradually, keeping those core muscles engaged, lift this chest so that we're coming into this stretch for these hip flexors. Now we're looking straight ahead. If you feel comfortable, we're going to see if we can raise these arms up, keep those core muscles engaged. And again, only if you feel comfortable as you breathe out, we're just gently twisting that waist away from center, gently, gently bringing it back to center, lowering those arms, and then bringing those hands back inside that foot. Sliding that foot backwards, coming back if you need to, and then doing the same again. So sliding this foot forwards. Good, I've gone a bit far there. So I've got my hands inside of that knee, and then gently, gently, I'm going to use that thigh to help me lift that chest if I need it. We're really making sure we don't arch this back, and it's the top of that back leg that we're stretching, the hip flexors. Now, only if you feel comfortable letting go, we're going to breathe in, draw those shoulder blades down, and as we breathe out, tighten that corset again, gently twist away from center towards that bent leg, and then we're going to come back, slide these arms down, bring these hands back, and let's come into that child's pose position. Stretching out the shoulders. Good. Okay, I'm going to slide my hands back, and I'm going to walk myself back out into that prone position. So we're just going to expand on what we were doing before. So we're going to start with those little shoulder blade squeezes, and we're going to bring it into that swan dive. So I'll show you the one move, and then we'll talk through it together. Now, what we can do is we can do this with the head resting on the mat. Okay, let me show you that one. And we're just breathing in, and we're breathing out as we squeeze these arms back. If you feel comfortable, we're going to just keep the bottom relaxed, lift that breastbone a fraction away from the mat, so there's a small distance between your nose and the mat, and we're going to do exactly the same. Shoulder blades sliding down that back, squeeze those forearms away from the floor. We're going to breathe in, and we're going to breathe out. So we've got that little orange between your chin and your chest, bottom muscles totally relaxed. And we're breathing in, not overreaching, breathing out, breathing in, and squeezing those elbows down towards those ankle bones. Imagine you've got a little tennis ball under each hand, and you're just rolling the ball forwards, rolling that ball backwards. If you can, we're going to do two more. One more. And breathing out. Lower that chest, lower those arms. Good. So now we're going to move to the lower back and the glutes. We're going to engage here, and we're going to come into that swimming legs movement. So we're not moving from the knee, remember, we're moving from the hip, squeeze and up. So we're going to see if we can do 8 on the left and 8 on the right. My toes in my left leg are really... So we can support that head with the back of the arms if you prefer. So when we're ready, drawing, engaging that corset-like muscle, straightening through those legs, squeezing that bottom, controlling it down. Good. So we're going to squeeze and release. Excellent. Squeeze. So from the hips, not from the knees. Lovely. Excellent. Squeeze. Don't forget your breathing. Relax those shoulders. And when you've done your 8 on one leg, we're going to change legs. So those hip bones both sinking down into the floor, even the side that's moving. Try not to lift those hip bones away from the mat. Engage that core. Relax those shoulders. And bring it down. Now we're going to see if we can do alternate legs. Now, if you like, you can bring in opposite arm. So to get into that position, okay, what we're going to do is just squeeze gently push that arm forward. So it's like a one-arm version of what we were doing with the Swan Dive. If you just want to focus on legs, that's absolutely fine. So prone position, engage, long spine, neutral spine. Let's draw in that corset, and we're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. It's as if your left toes and your right fingertips are being pulled horizontally. Try not to overreach with these hands. Remember that tennis ball underneath the palm of your hand. Just roll it forwards. Bring it back. Keep engaging those core muscles. Don't let that tummy dome into the mat. You're going to take one more. Bring it in. And then we're going to come into child's pose straight away. And breathe out. Feel that lovely stretch across the shoulders. And just take a few moments. Slide those elbows behind you. And then we're going to bring ourselves onto our sides and bring those legs out into that straddle position. So again, you can sit on your towel if that makes it easier. I think I'm going to do that. Good. Oh, that's better. So we've got that nice long spine. We're not slumped. So we can just take these feet however we feel comfortable. If you need, we can just bend these knees. Now, what we're going to do is roll those shoulders up, slide them down, take this prayer position, and then we're going to see if we can keep that chin parallel to the floor. We're going to take a little twist away from center. We're going to come back to center, and then we're going to twist the other way. So we're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out. And we're going to breathe in. Now, if you want to make this more challenging, we can take these arms out, relax the shoulders away from the ears, and we're just going to take that little twist, come back to center. Just reset those shoulders as you come back. Now, what I'm going to get you to do is really zip up through the pelvic floor for this one. Bring that pelvic floor up to the first floor. Good. Reset those shoulders every time we come back to center. Brilliant. Breathing out. You're almost pulling on that back arm to initiate the movement, if that makes sense. Should we do one more this side? Bring it back. And then we're just going to bring these arms in. Give ourselves a nice little hug. And then see if we can open that arms out to hold onto that beach ball. Relax the shoulders. And then lift that chest over that imaginary beach ball. And then we're going to roll back up through the spine. And again, breathing out. We're breathing in. And again, let's breathe out. Breathing in, rolling all the way back through that spine. And then we're going to bring those legs together. I'm going to bend my knees, and we're going to see if we can do our sideways movement in the opposite direction. So, I've got my little towel for my open door. Okay. Remember that 90-degree angle at the knee, shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Good. Engage, clamp those hips into position. So we're breathing out through that arm into the fingertips. Just going to move my towel back a little bit. Good. Breathing out. And breathing in. And again. Breathing out. So you can feel that really nice opening all through the chest, the front of the shoulders.
I can always feel it through my waist, almost as far as my hips. And then we're going to bring it all the way back. And then we're going to think about coming into those clams. So again, just make sure those heels are aligned with that tailbone. Relax these shoulders. So slide that shoulder away from the ears. Engage that corset. And then we're going to open. We're going to close. Really control that way back down. It's really interesting. We almost want to sort of gently squeeze up and then sort of go like that. It's a natural instinct, but there's so much strength gained on the way back down. So really focus on the two phases of the movement. Breathing out and breathing in. Lovely. I'm going to move my legs ever so slightly. I think my feet were too far behind me. And breathing in. It's really worth playing around with the position of your feet because you can actually see then. So if you take them too far forwards, you tend to feel it more here. If it's too far behind, again, it's all over the place. So it's very much worth playing around with it just to find your right position. And when you feel it, you think, oh, yeah, there you go. So just take that breath out. And relax. So we're going to take one more of these, and then we're going to come all the way back down. Lovely. Okay, so let's see if we can bring ourselves comfortably onto your back. And the one thing I'm going to do before we do anything else, because I quite often forget this, we're going to stretch out those muscles that we were using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ankle bone over that opposite thigh, and I'm going to allow this knee to fall away from center. So that's my first stage. So if that's stretching you here, then that's as far as you need to go. But if you can, we're going to see if we can lift that supporting leg away from the floor. We're going to hold onto that thigh, draw that knee towards your chest. This knee is still gently moving away from center. Now, you may find that what you'd rather do is hold onto that foot, okay, and gently use a little bit of pressure on the inside of that thigh just to push that knee out a little bit more, and you really get that nice piriformis stretch. See if you can keep that foot flexed. Sometimes I play around with my foot position and it really changes that stretch a little bit. So that's a really interesting one to do as well. And then when we feel ready, we're just going to gently lower and cross, and we'll do the same on the other side. Let's do it. So this is where I have to make sure I haven't good. So nice and slowly, this is a stretch, and if we do it too quickly, the body doesn't like it, just tense up. So nice and easy, bit by bit. So once you've got to that stage, then you might think, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to just gently put some pressure on that inside of the thigh just to push that knee away from center, and then I might have a little play around with that foot. What happens when I flex it? Protects the knee a little bit more when it's flexed. Good. Okay, breathing out, of course. And then we're going to release and bring it back down. Okay, so we're going to put some abdominal work in again. A little bit like we did before. We're almost at the end, my friends. So let's find that neutral spine again. Let's find that neutral spine. And then when we feel ready, we're going to come into our tabletop. So I'm going to come into double leg tabletop, but you can do single if you prefer. Now, just make sure you can balance that glass of water on your shins. And when you feel ready, we're going to see if we can come into that single leg stretch. Make sure that back doesn't arch away from the floor. Okay, maybe you can always do two legs with the knees a little bit closer if it's too much. Now, to add our challenge, we're going to take that opposite hand or opposite arm float, opposite single leg stretch. So left arm, right leg, right arm, left leg. Now, all throughout that corset is engaged. Breathing out, breathing in. Breathing out and in. Shoulders relax. Little orange between that chin and the chest, long neck, neutral spine, don't let that back arch. Watch those ribs from popping, keep those ribs connected to that pelvis. So we're going to do 4 more if you can. So if you need to stop, if you need to do a few more, listen to your body. Make sure that your technique is as good as it can be. As soon as that technique starts to go, we need to stop, rest. You can do another set if you need to. And then I'm going to bring my knees into the chest. Good. Great work, guys. Great work. And then I'm going to bring one foot down and the other. I'm going to bring my hands just underneath, and I'm going to bring myself to a sitting position. I'm going to lengthen out through those toes, relax those shoulders. Now we're going to see if we can hold on to this imaginary beach ball, engage through that pelvic floor or that corset or both. We're going to lift that rib cage over our imaginary beach ball, and then we're going to roll up through that spine. Lovely. Now here, we're going to take that little pelvic tilt. Now we can do this with our knees bent, particularly if we've not done it before, and hold on to the back of those knees. We're going to create a C curve. Breathe out. Breathe in, come all the way back up. Slide those arms out. Breathe out, keep those core muscles engaged into our spine stretch. Start each little segment of the spine at a time. Bending those knees, hold in the back. Now push that tail between your legs. We've got that lovely C curve in the base of the spine. Now only if you feel comfortable and control do we start to gently roll down one segment of that spine at a time. Breathe in, bring it up. Breathe out. Okay, now if you feel comfortable, and we've done this before, we can then take that pelvic tilt with the legs straight. We're going to roll down, and again, each little segment of the spine at a time. Now stay with the level that works for you. I've started with level 1. We're on level 4 now. We're peeling the spine away from that floor. So find the level that works for you. So this could be your level. We're engaging the abdominals, shoulders are relaxed, and then just imagine you're pressing that lower back, just starting at the bottom, one segment at a time. As soon as you think you're on the verge of losing control, we're coming all the way up. And then into that spine stretch, lifting that rib cage up and over. We're going to do one more, my friends. One more, but we're going to stay down. Rolling all the way down. And then we're going to take a really nice big stretch from the toes through to the fingertips. Breathing in, breathing out. Lovely. Okay, let's see if we can just bring ourselves onto our side. So I'm going to bend my knees, bring myself onto my side, and then I'm going to put my hands underneath me, bring myself into that kneeling position. I'm going to take a little cat stretch, come back to that kneeling position, then I'm going to tuck my toes under, walk my hands back towards my knees, walk myself into a crouching position. And then from there, we're going to straighten out those legs only as far as you feel comfortable, and we're going to roll up like we did in the warm-up. So relaxing that chin, relaxing that head. We're just going to engage those core muscles, push that tail down behind your heels, roll up through. And what a marvelous angle that is of me. Let's bring you back to a standing position. So we're there in our standing position. We're going to take a really nice roll of the shoulders back and down. And then we're going to take a lovely breath in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in nice and easy. And we're going to breathe out.
And then from that position, we're going to turn those palms up to the ceiling. We're going to squeeze those shoulders up as we breathe in. Relax those shoulders as we breathe out. We're going to breathe in. And breathe out. So we're going to take one more, little bit smaller. And when you feel ready, we'll give those feet a little shake. Mine don't want to shake today. I know earlier they wouldn't, but just keep trying, isn't it? Thank you very much for joining me. Well done, everyone. If there's anything that was troubling you in that session or anything you weren't sure about, do give me a shout. Otherwise, I think we stayed in the whole time. Thank you very much, and we shall see you not next Monday. I'll send you a recording link because it's a bank holiday, but the Monday after. Take care. Goodbye.